Hello, everybody. Coach Allison back, and I am coming at you with a new workout for week 27 for Defy Aging. And this week, we also switch into a new warm up and a new cool down. And we know that takes a little while, a lot of new movements, a lot of learning. So we know that takes a little bit longer. So this week's workout will be just maybe a little hair shorter, not easier, just a little bit shorter. So what we have this week for the workout is a ladder routine. For those of you unfamiliar with that, it's an increase in reps by a certain increment and then a decrease. So we go this week for the ladder, we're going to go up in increments of threes. So we're going to go, the reps will go 3, 6, 9, 12, 9, 6, 3. So that's our up and our down for our ladder. But there are only 5 exercises. And we're going to run this routine for 24 minutes. So you simply go through the routine and as far as you can. So see how far you get through a ladder. If you get done with it all the way up, all the way down, and there's still time left, start it again. Okay? We do have a quick little team builder at the end. All right? So let's go through our 5 exercises plus our team builder. Exercise 1 is thrusters. This is a great exercise for efficiency. We're getting lower body, we're getting shoulders, so upper body, core, stability, cardio, so why not? All right, we got dumbbells, 1 on each hand. Turn those palms in like so. Rest them at your shoulders, not on the shoulders. They're not physically resting there, but they can be right above. And we go into a regular squat. So hips, feet are hip width apart. Sink those hips back as you go down. So remember, a squat isn't just down, but it's hips back, then down. As you come up from the squat, that's when you press those weights. So it's all one smooth move. It's not chopped up into like 2 distinctly separate moves, meaning it's not a squat, stop, and then press, but instead it's all smooth together. You can pause between each rep like this, but the movement itself is nice and smooth together. Very important, one thing I will say, when you're in your squat, make sure those elbows kind of come forward and you're not allowing instead the elbows to dip down and therefore the weights to fall down like this. So when you're in your squat, keep those weights at the shoulder level. Okay, so that is our thruster exercise 1. So for round 1, you'll start with 3, that's 4. You'll start with 3 of those, and then you'll move right to exercise 2, which is coming up next. Exercise 2 is a weighted hip thrust. And of course, you can do this with no weight, however, as well. The weight is always like considered a progression. So let me show you the hip thrust first without the weight. Hip thrust is lying on the floor and bent knees. And we're going to thrust those hips up, drop them down. Okay? So for round 1, you would do 3 of these. The weight, which we're going to shoot for this week, if you're feeling ready for it, you can choose to grab 1 dumbbell and rest it kind of on the low hip, so just below the hip bone. It should almost feel like the hip bone is kind of a shelf, but you do need to hold on to it. Otherwise, when you lift those hips, it's going to roll right down. So it would look like this with 1 dumbbell. Some people like to hold 2 and kind of hold them off of the corners of the hips. It's a little more work on your arms because they're kind of tipping off the corner, like tipping off the hips, so you have to hold them in place a little more. It's a minor difference, but so it's really a preference thing. Try both ways, see what you like. So if you go with 1 dumbbell, you'll choose a heavier one. If you're going with the 2, you can choose 2 lighter ones or 2 moderate weights. So that's our weighted hip bridge. For anyone staying off the floor, we're going to change it into, you're going to instead do a Romanian deadlift because it's a very different looking move, of course, but it hits the same general muscle group. So it's a great alternative. So you'll use 2 dumbbells for this. Start in the up position. Those weights are kind of kitty corner on your thighs. So I like to say the corner of the legs, which is silly because they don't really have corners, but I think that gets the point across. Not straight to the side, not straight in front, but kind of on the corners. And then you pop the hips back as you hinge at your hips. Drop those weights to about shin level, so below the knee, but not nearly as low as the ankle. So somewhere in that middle ground. Back stays nice and flat. And that's our Romanian deadlift. So that's a great alternative to the hip bridge because you're still targeting the glutes, and the hamstrings, which is the main muscle group focus there. So that is station 2, or actually not station, exercise 2. Beginning with the 3 reps for round 1. Exercise 3, alternating bent over row. So for this exercise, it'll be, the count will be each side individually. So let me show you what that looks like. So we got our weights. Choose maybe heavier weights for this because our back is a nice strong muscle group. Definitely want heavier weights. It should not be the same weights that you did your thrusters with, because shoulder muscles, which is the muscle group that you do when you do this, use when you do that, that is a significantly weaker muscle group than your back muscles. So that means for the back row that we're going to do right now, you can go heavier than the thrusters. So you should have a separate set of weights for this, and this should be a bigger set. So you want to be in that 45-degree bent over position. Okay, so a bent over position isn't like slouching and leaning like this, but instead it's a hinge. So watch my butt. That sounds weird, but for real, like I'm sticking my butt and my hips back to hinge. This is a really good proper bent over position. It's safe, it's protecting my lower back, and it's putting my upper back in the right position to start strengthening it. But if I just slouch and do this, it's not safe on my lower back. And if I start doing the exercise, I'm not strengthening my upper back in the proper way. So we want to set up correctly. I'm hinging at my hips. My back is nice and flat. I'm ready to go. Okay, I'm going to row one side. That's rep 1 on that side. Alternating, rep 1 on that side. 2, 2, and 3, and 3. And that's how I would count the first set. Then you do that same method for the 6 rep set, and then the 9 and 12 and so on. But you want to keep the elbow in snug. You're pulling the elbow up and back. So I'm not just, so I should say pulling the dumbbell up and back. See how it's kind of coming towards my hip. It's not coming up here towards my chest or towards my armpit. So think of it like going up and back, like you're trying to bring it towards your butt, not towards your chest. And that is our alternating back row. Exercise 4, not even demonstrating because we all know it. It's push-ups. You can do them on your toes, you can do them on your knees, and you could do them on an incline, and you could do them against a wall. So many options there, so everybody can partake in them. Also keep in mind the option you select for maybe rounds 1 and 2. It doesn't have to be the same ones you do for rounds 3 and 4, meaning for the 3 and the 6 rep set, it's fewer reps. So maybe you can crank those out on your toes or your knees because it's not as many reps. But then when we get up to reps 9 and 12, that's a lot more, and you're more tired, and it's more reps in a row. So maybe then we're like, okay, I can't quite do this many on my toes or knees. Then go up to an incline or go over to the wall. And that's totally fine. So you can mix and match the type of level of push-up you're doing throughout this full routine, depending on the reps that you're at. So don't think that you're stuck with whatever you do for the first set. That's not the case. Or you can mix and match within the set. Let's say you're at the 12 rep set and you start on your toes and you do 3 or 4 on your toes, and then you do the rest on your knees. Totally fine. So just get those push-ups done. Do whatever kind you can for as many as you can. And let's get some push-ups this week. Exercise 5, our core exercise, plank hip twists. This will be another one where the count is each side, kind of like the back row. So it'll be like 1, 1, 2, 2, and so on. It is an elbow plank, a low plank. Yeah, there's a bump in the floor. Okay. All right, plank form. Elbows directly under shoulders. Hips are level, so we're not steepling up like this. The twist part is we do these relatively frequently. Just a subtle little tip or twist or tilt side to side. Watch my feet though. As I'm twisting, every maybe 2 or 3 reps, the toes kind of crawl back. So I have to sort of shift. See how I had to kind of like crawl the toes in? It's simply just annoying. And I just can't figure out a way around that. I haven't been able to figure that out. So if you can figure it out, let me know. Let your coach know and they'll tell me. A knee version, unfortunately, a knee version of this, like, it kind of works, but it actually kind of doesn't. You can't twist far enough. First of all, it's really not comfortable on the knees, even if you have a mat to do the twisting, but you can't twist far enough to really engage those obliques in the way that we want. So if toes aren't going to be an option, we're going to take it right up to an incline. So this version of a plank doesn't have the normal toe variety, which is fine. It doesn't have the normal, this version of a plank doesn't have the normal knee variety. Did I say that correctly? Which is totally fine. So then we come up to an incline. And you do have to do, it also doesn't really work great on the hands because it has just too much distance here. So too much room for your hips to sink down. So hopefully you have some of the soft benches. And if not, you can roll up a mat and put a mat on the harder benches so it's comfortable on your forearms. But we do need to do an elbow plank variety if you're using an incline. But it works just great, just fine on an incline to get these twists. Just make sure you are keeping the elbow directly under the shoulder, because if you start coming too far back here, it's not going to work out too great. First of all, it's not a good plank form anyway, but it doesn't make the twists work very well. So want to make sure that we're keeping that really good plank form. Okay, so that's our plank hip twists. Make sure to do the count separately on each side. Okay, so those were our 5 exercises. This week for the team builder, it's going to be trainer's choice. So this one is going to be 100% up to your coach. So I don't know what every gym is going to do or even what every session is going to do. So let's see what creative, fun games our coaches come up with. Okay, so that's week 27. I hope everyone enjoys the new warm-up and cool down that we have for the next 2 months. Couple of new movements in there, so hope you enjoy those. Otherwise, hope you enjoy this week's workout and see you back in week 28.